Welcome back to the grind for a quick Necropolis Path 2 guide. I'm going to try to hit the key point or points in every fight really quickly, ideally keeping this a very quick, brief video. The first one was a little longer than I was hoping, but that was all the shared fights the first time through. So this one, the shared fights will probably be a bit more brief. So if you want to see those shared fights again in more detail, check out the first video on Path 1. So we're going to jump in here. Path 2, the first section path node is against the ropes. So unless you can decrease ability accuracy, if you're attacking them while they're against the wall, you're going to take a bunch of damage. So you have to play more passive and careful, stay back off the opponents, keep them off of the wall unless you have a way to avoid that damage. And you can avoid that damage with non-contact attacks. So Shuri is fantastic for this path because you can just completely ignore it. Specifically for Mr. Fantastic, if he repeats the same special attack multiple times, he's going to get more basically careful study debuffs and passives on him. So he's going to get lots and lots of combat power. So if you want to alternate his special attacks, you can keep it a little bit at bay. Namor, the only thing to really keep in mind is you need to have a non-damaging debuff on him or passive or debuff. A damaging passive or And then for Namor, the only thing you really need to keep in mind is you must have a damaging debuff or passive on him in order for him to take damage. If you do not have a damaging debuff or passive on him, he will not be taking damage. And then the next fight, Atuma, basically it's just a really big Atuma. There's nothing otherwise too specific about this fight except for the path node where you can't have him against the wall, but ideally you want to have Shuri and therefore it won't matter. You can just brute force with Aegon, but it is going to cost revives. Really, it's just going to be a big Atuma. Then you have Airwalker. Only thing with him is you have to knock him down every 15 seconds. Otherwise, he's going to gain his Galactus buff, which is going to heal him a ton. If you nullify or prevent the buff from triggering, he's going to get 3 bars of power initially. If you happen to survive that special 3, he's going to trigger his Galactus buff and be healing a ton. So you really don't want that to happen. Don't nullify it. Don't prevent it from triggering. Knock him down at least every 15 seconds, but preferably go for every 10 seconds because then you have a bit of a buffer in case he doesn't want to play ball. Next, we have Captain Britain. You're going to have reverse controls every time you purify a debuff, and she's going to be putting lots of debuffs on you throughout the fight. I'm pretty sure I remember it actually causing reverse controls when the debuffs expired as well, but I could be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure it was happening. So you're going to have to be careful watching for when the reverse controls triggers. Maybe instead of finishing a full combo, finish 4 hits and dash back so you can kind of be prepared for the special attack, or just plan to hold block, but then you're going to take lots of block damage. The next fight is Wiccan. The main things here is if you bait out special ones, which are easier to deal with and not trigger decks, then eventually, like once he's below 50% health, he's going to be healing so much health back. So maybe it's good to push to a special 2, but then you're going to want to be careful because that's a lot of block damage unless you have a way to negate the healing, like with Shuri's debuffs and the mastery now that it's just slipped my mind where you can cancel out the regeneration, then her shock debuffs will cut out the healing and you can just stick to special ones. If you trigger Dex debuff on any champion who can trigger Dex while you have a neutralize active, then you will get some incinerate damage on you. But otherwise it's a pretty straightforward fight. This fight I didn't find too bad personally. He's going to give you prompts every 12 seconds. If you don't complete the prompt in 12 seconds, you're going to take a burst of 15% of your health damage. And the prompts are heavy attack, special attack, or block an attack. Once you complete it, it's going to automatically trigger another one. It will trigger all 3 of them one time first before it starts repeating, but then it can repeat the same one over again back to back. So just keep that in mind. If it's one you're more concerned about triggering, you might want to do it first, like right away. If it's one that's easy for you to trigger, then you can kind of wait it out so you don't have to have as many prompts back to back. Then we're going to go over here, APOC. The path node is Freight Train, so every time they dash forward, they're going to get an indestructible buff for 2 seconds. So the first 2 seconds after their dash, they're not going to take damage, which can be a little bit annoying. So you'll have to adjust your playstyle a little bit to reduce how much that prevents you from doing damage. If you nullify that buff, then you're going to gain actually a fury buff for 4 seconds. I never used it. I don't know how much it really makes a difference for you, but it's just a nice little perk specifically for APOC. Essentially, he's just always going to have max charges. There is a way to remove some of them by doing 6 light attacks, 6 medium attacks, and 2 heavy attacks. Once you've done all of that, it'll reset them all, and then you'll get 1 charge removed. But it's hard to keep up with, and I don't think it's worth it. Just play it as a fully ramped APOC. Next, you've got Tigra. Tigra, if you take a blocked hit, you're going to get a Rupture debuff on you, and if she has her Huntress Sense active, your light attacks have a 50% chance to miss. So I ended up pushing her to special 2s a lot so she wouldn't activate her senses, and I just got good at dexing it. If you play very aggressive and keep her on the back, like her half of the map, then I do the first 3 hits as like 1 dex at a time, and those are like the 3 kind of rapid fire hits, and then she dashes back, and when she dashes back, I just spam dash back and just create a lot of space, and that helps you avoid the second part of the special 2, and then just again get aggressive, whole block, bait heavies, and then push her to special 2. And then you got Hercules. He's really mostly just a big Hercules, but it can be annoying because he's going to gain protection passives, which changes by each phase. At first, it's only after the U as the attacker finishes a special attack. In the second stage, it's going to be even when he throws a special attack, and then in the third phase, the way that you get rid of them changes a little bit. So the way you get rid of them is by if you hit him with your heavy attack while they're not stunned, if you intercept an attack, or if you interrupt his heavy attack with an attack other than a heavy attack. So beta heavy and then just medium into him will do it. Now in the last phase, in phase 3 under 40%, you can't do the same one twice in a row, otherwise it's not going to remove it. So you have to start switching it up. For Captain America, Sam Wilson, you just want a really hard auto block counter. Otherwise, when you hit his block, you're going to get a bunch of Rupture debuffs on you, which is going to hurt. Aegon is great for this. That's who I used every time. But otherwise, you want a really strong auto block counter. Dragon Man, basically, when he's just going to get a lot of stun immune passives on him. So you're not going to be able to stun him, which isn't always too bad because he has a power gain, which is going to push him to special 1. You can bait that out and then get your ins that way. If you block a hit of the special 1, you're going to get a debuff on you for some regen from willpower if you have it active, and then you can still attack in after the special 1, and then you can bait heavy attacks and stuff. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with it, you can play close to your wall, because when you're up against your wall, then he won't be stun immune. And then Captain America, he's pretty simple, straightforward. When he has 5 kinetic potential charges and you attack him, they'll consume to give a concussion debuff, reducing your ability accuracy. Otherwise, it's very simple. He does just get kind of his signature ability benefits as the defender. And then Nova can be a bit annoying. He is immune to Nullify, Fate, Seal, Stagger. And the main thing is you don't want to stay close to him for 6 seconds, because then it triggers a Nova Force charge. Once he has 5 of those, he's going to burn. You're going to consume all of them, and then it'll power burn you, which means you're going to take some damage. You basically want to just dash back and create some distance before the 6-second timer expires. Aside from that, it's just a really big bad Nova. And that is it for Path 2. I hope this is helpful, and I hope to see you in the next one.